right, we're going to talk about points, lines, and planes. Because this is geometry.
Is this lesson 1?
Yes. Good guess. Good job. So you're going to do well, Tori.
Thank you. I'm really excited. I feel like this might be the year for me not to say I want to drop out.
All right. Yeah.
Tori, you just said that already.
Hey, if I don't really good.
You got this.
It's not related.
Okay. In the textbook online, there's some warm-up questions that you can do. And usually those questions will apply to what you're going to learn today too. So those are nice to go through. You don't have to, but if you want to prepare yourself for every lesson, you can do that. I might once in a while do a do now. And again, the do nows are just for practice. They're not going to be graded, but yeah. All right, so let's get into the semantics of geometry, because geometry, honestly, is all about semantics, okay? And this is gonna bug a lot of you, okay? But if you have any desire to pursue law, like being a lawyer, this is gonna be a great class for you. Okay, because geometry is going to feel, you're almost going to feel dumber, okay, because you have to explain it to yourself and on paper as if you're explaining to a child, okay? But that's what I'm not a lawyer, but that's what lawyers do in the courtroom. They make it beyond a shadow of doubt. They're trying to proclaim truth and not have anyone doubt it, okay? So they are very detailed, almost annoyingly so. I don't think that's a word. Yes?
So I don't think I can get any dumber.
All right.
As long as you believe.
I do think I'm getting dumb over things.
Okay, so let's start with the definition. We're gonna define the word definition.
Ooh, that hurts my brain.
So a definition,
Is to define something.
and you
It's
can't
to
use that word.
explain the function of something.
A definition of a term
Big brain.
is a statement, okay, so far so good,
My definition.
because you're stating it, that and they use the word defines, but I'm going to say describes,
Ooh, good word.
and this is just in geometry, a mathematical object, but it's very applicable in life as well. Mathematical object. Okay, so definitions usually reference other definitions.
Wait.
Other definitions or reference other terms. Okay? An undefined term is a basic math term not defined, obviously, by other math terms. Okay? So here's some examples of undefined terms. A point. Okay? So the definition, it's hard to use other mathematical terms to describe what a point is, okay? But a point is an exact location in space. That's it. Now, when I say space, I don't mean outer space. We're all in space right now. Okay? So a point is an exact location in space. Lines. Okay? A line is a collection of points that form a infinite straight curve. Technically, curve is not a curvy thing. It could be curvy thing, but technically a curve is just a collection of points that are stuck together. All right? This is called a straight curve.
Or a line?
Yep.
So what was?
See, I told you you'd feel dumber. All right, so points, lines, planes, etc. So these are really building blocks. We have to agree together what a point is, a line is, and what a plane is. Because those are going to be the building blocks of what we talk about in geometry. So these are building blocks for defining other terms. Okay? Are you weirded out yet? It's a little weird.
No. Although that straight curve got me.
Got you a little. A point names a location and has no size.
Wait, so if you drew a big circle, that would be a point.
No, that would be a circle.
But you said it has no size.
It's impossible for me to draw a point. Why is it impossible for me to draw a point?
It's like a point on a graph, right?
Or if you just
That you can do, yeah, but why is it impossible?
has no mass.
Because you can't see it. It doesn't have size. You can't see something that has no
I
size.
can see a period.
But we have to, if we're going to teach geometry, we have to represent it by something. So we represent it by a dot. But do you know what this actually is? It's not a point.
A filled-in circle.
A filled-in circle, we call it a disk. Okay? In geometry, the term is disk.
Can you throw that disc?
No, you cannot throw it. I mean, you could.
Catch that disc.
But see how this little circle has dimensions. It has width, it has height, and it even has depth because the stuff on this marker is on top of the board, which comes out a little bit. So that's a three-dimensional object right there. Okay? But a point doesn't have any dimensions. It doesn't have length, width, height, depth, whatever. Weight, whatever. Point is just an exact, it just names a location. Okay? All right, now we represent it by a dot and it's labeled with a capital letter. Now, we just need to be consistent with how we label our points. Okay? So if there's a dot here with the capital A next to it, we can either say point A, or in geometry, we can just say A. Okay? So if you just say a letter without a word in front of it, we're assuming that you're talking about a point. Okay? There are other things that are labeled with a capital letter. So if you want to talk about those things, you have to say what they are first. These are the rules of geometry. Okay? Yep. What's the question?
What if it was like A, B, C?
So A, B, C would not be a point. It could be a collection of points. But if it was A, B,
But
C...
if I said like A and went like B, C, D.
Yeah, so you have to be careful how you communicate in this class because it's you could get a question wrong if you're not communicating it correctly. Okay? So, you guys know what a point is? We good with that? All right, a line How do you define that without mathematical terms?
Two connections of points.
What?
Two-
That's an,
Yeah.
What is
a line is something that you draw.
curve?
Infinite points because it's
It's an
Like
infinite.
point,
a
Yeah.
straight
down.
Okay, so curve is kind of like a mathematical term, but straight, I like straight, is a straight, let's use the word path, is a straight path.
and lines don't have endings unless you like say like yeah this line ends.
Right, and then it wouldn't be called a line, then it would be part of a line, which the fancy word for part of is segment, right? Line
I know,
segment.
lines.
And then it could be what we used to call a half line, where it has a beginning but doesn't have an end. Do you remember what that's called besides a half line?
I changed it.
Ray.
Yeah, Ray. I was gonna say, where's the sun? So a line is a straight path that has no thickness and extends forever. Isn't that a weird definition in math? Like, it's weird. It's hard to define something without mathematical terms. So there are infinite points or infinite locations, because remember, points are just locations. Infinite points on a line. Okay, so this is how we name a line. Named by either a lowercase letter or any 2 points on that line. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. So here's a line, and usually we have to draw it with arrows on the end. Otherwise, it has a beginning and an end, and we call that a line segment. So when you see a line, you will see arrows on the end, and sometimes you'll see a lowercase cursive letter. Usually it's cursive. But you remember there are an infinite number of points on this line. So A, B, C is on there. So you could either say line L, or you could say AB with a little line symbol on the top. You could even say AC. Doesn't matter which 2 points you pick, and it doesn't matter what order. You could say BA instead of AB, or CA instead of AC, and so on.
Or
So
CAB.
you just have to pick 2 capital letters or 2 points on the line and put a little line, or you could say the line AB.
Oh wait, I guess you can.
Okay, but if you see a little cursive lowercase letter next to it, then you can name it with that letter. Okay, but only if you see that little letter. You can't just randomly pick a letter. So most of this is review. We're just getting into more of the nitty-gritty of what you already know. Okay. All right, now I'm going to erase this. Is that okay? We're going to start a new page. Get into some definitions that you may have heard before. There's a word for 2 points that are on the same line, or 2 or more. So any
Would that be a plane?
set of, well, if it's just a line, then it wouldn't be a plane yet, but we're getting there. Any set of points that lie on the same line or share the same line. What do you call it when you share something? Like when you share the responsibility of flying a plane, you are what? Co-pilot. So any set of points that lie on the same line are called co-pilot. Collinear. Okay? Collinear. Linear just means it forms a line. So they share the same line. So coline AR. Actually, there's two L's in there. That bothers me. Collinear. Collinear. Okay? So far, so good. Collinear points. Makes sense. Share the same line. Okay, so in our example here, if I had A, B, C, I could say A and B are collinear. If I had a D off of the line there, A and D are non-collinear. Actually, that's not true. They are collinear because they share this line. But A, B, and D are non-collinear. Okay, so see how A and D are on the same line. I could draw a line through that. So any 2 points in the universe are collinear. But if you add a third one like B, see how that forms like a triangle. If that's the case, then they're non-collinear. They're not on the same line. They're on 2 separate lines. Okay, so A, B, and C are collinear, but A, B, and D, or A, C, and D, or any 2 points in D, are non-collinear. Okay, makes sense so far? So usually when you're talking about collinear points, you're talking about 3 or more. Because any 2 points are collinear. But 3 or more points could be non-collinear. All right, now, a plane. Let's try to define this. Is a flat surface that has no thickness and extends forever in all directions. Okay? All right, now this is how you name it. It's named by using either an uppercase letter, so a capital letter. So just like a point, or you can use 3 non-collinear points. Okay, and I'm going to spell points PTS. It's not post-traumatic stress. It's just post-traumatic stress syndrome. It's not
Post-traumatic market stress.
Okay, so 3 non-collinear points. So for example, here's a plane, blah, 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 blah. And remember, this goes on forever in all directions. And sometimes you'll see like this big P in the corner with not next to any kind of dot. That would be plain P or plain ABC. And there's no fancy symbol that you put above ABC. You just have to write out the word plain and then ABC. Okay? So you have to pick 3 non-collinear points. Because there's only one plane that will include those 3 non-collinear points. You can't draw any other plane through those non-collinear points. There's just one. okay? Think about the actual whiteboard here. There's not a way for me to take this flat piece of paper and touch all three at the same time. There's only one way, it's right there, okay? All right. I'm sure there's gotta be a way. Okay? So a plane is a flat surface that has no thickness and extends forever in all directions. A plane is named using either uppercase letter or three non-collinear points that lie in the plane. Don't forget non-collinear points in the plane. They have to be in the plane. The plane that you're trying to name. Okay? So all these definitions are going to be really, really detailed. Okay? Okay. All right. Guess what? If I say this, lines or points that are on the same plane are called what? Do you know?
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you like being by the music room so you can hear all the lovely music?
I'm not going to answer that. Lines or points that lie in the same plane are called what?
Yesterday in physics we heard from Flack.
So collinear lie in the same line. So what would things that lie in the same plane?
Wait,
Plane linear? No, still they share the same plane. So coplanar.
That hurts my brain.
So quick coplaning. Okay.
Can you read the definition? Because I kind of can't read it.
Yes. So lines or points, because you can have coplanar lines. You can't have collinear lines. That doesn't really make sense. So you can lines or points that lie on the same plane. Same plane is the key words here in this definition. Coplanar. Okay. So if you take a Frontier flight and you and the other passengers are coplanar passengers. Okay. All right, so far so good.
Wait, don't erase it.
Okay, I won't. Jeez. Okay, so you're gonna find some. Maybe I will show you a few examples. So here's the plane, coplanar. So here's some here's example 2. What are 2 different names for this plane? Well, the solution's right there. But
I can't read.
see how that little cursive capital M is in the top right corner? So you could call this plane M, or you could call it plane FGH, or whatever. Okay? Now, coplanar lines. This is really hard to read, so when you're doing your homework, do the best you can, and then just take out your old buddy's solutions manual and figure out the rest, okay? But your test won't be terribly complicated like this, okay? So coplanar, I think these lines look coplanar, right? They look like they're both on this K plane, maybe? So lines R and S are both on plane K, so they're coplanar lines. So see how T is on this plane L? So T is not coplanar with R and S. Okay? All right, so now we're going to go on to the next definition, which is intersections. And intersections is basically what 2 things have in common. Now, you know about intersecting lines. So when 2 lines intersect, they intersect at a point. And when they intersect and make square corners or right angles, they're called perpendicular lines, right? And 2 lines that never intersect are called what?
Parallel.
Parallel, that's right. Yes, question, Tristan.
You know what really scares me? Intersections.
That's
They're
not a
so
question.
hard to drive through. Oh
Have
my
you
God.
gone through a circle yet?
Yes, so, yeah, intersections.
The one I go to.
Do you think
So,
intersections are scary?
really, the only intersection that you guys have dealt with are the intersecting lines, like roads, right? But you can intersect anything, okay? So, and go ahead and giggle, because that's what that means, okay? So when you intersect, it's basically, and don't get awkward, all right? It's where two things touch, okay? But is that a good way to remember it? Yes, because you guys are sick people, and it's easy to remember things that are a little like, dare to say, dirty, okay? It's easy to remember it when it's dirty, okay? So intersections. An intersection is a point or set of points.
Is this still lesson 1?
Yes.
Yes.
Has reading a number.
Well, he may have forgotten to change it. Okay.
Geometry lesson 1.
Watch
I do that a lot. I do forget to change things a lot.
Point
An intersection is a point or set of points. You might need to move closer, Tori.
I just forgot my
I know
glasses.
you don't like to be close.
No, I just forgot my glasses.
Okay. So an intersection is a point or set of points. When you intersect two lines, it's a point, right? They don't come around and touch each other again. I'm gonna quit saying touch each other, 'cause that's awkward. Okay. So an intersection is a point or set of points in which two figures meet. I feel like I'm in junior high again. I feel like that quite often, actually. When two lines intersect, when two lines love each other very much,
When mommy wanted.
when two lines intersect, they form a point.
Okay.
Their intersection is a point. Just one, because they will not come around and intersect again.
I mean, I'm alive.
I've never giggled this or witnessed so much giggling as I've taught this a lot, but I think this is the first year where like there's been giggle reactions.
Oh no. Well, did my sister take geometry?
Yeah, but she was way more mature than you apparently.
You know what?
That's probably true.
I've embodied a 7th grade.
Okay.
And I accept that about myself.
So when two planes intersect, not airplanes, that would be terrible. When two planes intersect, their intersection is what? So think about two planes, maybe in this room, like the wall and the ceiling. What does their intersection look like?
Like angle.
So what you're looking at is that line and that line. But look at this wall and this wall. Where do they touch each other? The wall and the ceiling, where do they touch? And what figure is that? What is that thing? That's a line. So two
That's a
planes intersect in a line. Okay? These planes will never intersect each other again. Okay? Okay, so intersection is of a plane, of two planes is a line. Okay?
My parents are.
In the line or creates a line?
What's that? So remember, what they have in common is that line. So that line right there, this line is on the ceiling, and this line is also on the wall. Okay? So you see that what they have in common is that line. So if you look at 2 points, like two lines that intersect, this point right here, this point is on this line, and it's also on that line. So that's the only thing those two lines have in common. Okay? So, intersection of planes is hard to draw. See that? That's hard to draw. But you see that line M is their point of intersection. Okay? All right. So here's something that you need to know about intersections. If a line lies inside of a plane, lies on a plane, then their intersection is that line. So that whole line is inside the plane, so that's the intersection. Their intersection
So wait.
is the line itself. See if there's a drawing up there. So see how that line M is in that dark blue plane P, but that plane P keeps going up too. The line is drawn outside of the plane, outside of what looks like the plane, but remember that plane goes on forever up and down. So see how that line M is completely inside plane P. So the intersection of that line and that plane is the line. The whole line, okay? If a line is not in a plane, then what's that point of intersection? So for example, where does line Q intersect plane P? Can you see it? Can you see where line Q intersects plane P? Okay, let's do this example. My arm is a line. Where does my arm intersect the whiteboard? What?
Point.
Yeah, it's a point, okay? So if the line is not inside of the plane, but it touches the plane at some point, that's where it is. So I know it's weird, but it's where, if you think about it, that's not what they have in common. What geometric figure do they share? Where are they touching? That's the easiest way to remember it, okay? So where does that line Q touch point P? Right at Q, right? Point Q there. Okay? All right, let's look at a couple more examples and then we'll be done with lesson 1 here. So what is the intersection? Don't look at the solution. Don't look at, you looked at the solution.
Yes, sir.
What is the intersection of line AB and line CD?
E.
Point, so you can just say E, or you can say point E. Okay. All right, what is the intersection of line PQ and line RS? So look at RS and QP. Yep, it's that point T. What's the intersection of planes M, so dark blue and light blue? What is the intersection of those two planes? Line, well, you have to say this is a point, so you have to say QP, because there isn't a cute little lowercase letter, remember? So you can either say line QP, or you could even say line QT, or TP or PT or whatever. You just need to pick 2 points on this line to name it. Do you guys see that that's the point of the intersection, or the line of intersection between two planes? It's always a line. So that's where those two planes are touching, is that line there. Okay? Two lines always touch at a point. Two planes, unless they're parallel, will always touch at a line. Okay? So always just go down one dimension. How many dimensions is a plane? It's like 2 dimensions, length and width. Okay? How many dimensions is a line?
1.
Just 1, it's just length. How many dimensions is a point? 0, there's no dimensions. So the point of intersection of two lines go down one dimension is a point. The point of the intersection of two planes go down one dimension is a line. Okay? It gets tricky when you're talking about a line in a plane, but just take your pencil and put it on your paper. That is the intersection of a line and a plane. It's just one point. Okay? It's hard to get your head around this. This is where your head needs to think literally outside of the box. Okay? All right. So that's lesson 1. It's and again, it's a lot of semantics, a lot of stuff you already know, but we just kind of drove it into the ground like redundantly almost. Okay, there's a lot of redundancy in geometry because you have to be very specific and detailed.
Flack man, give me some math and I'll give you some flack. Flack man.